Imagine a battlefield where the fate of Europe hangs by a thread, a day when strategy, courage, and leadership combined to alter the course of history forever. That day was August 13, 1704, and that battle was Blenheim. Today, we will journey through the events of this monumental clash, where the brilliance of John Churchill, the Duke of Marlborough, and Prince Eugene of Savoy reshaped the balance of power in Europe. The year was 1704, and Europe was a continent on the brink. For decades, the powers of the continent had balanced delicately, each wary of the other's ambitions, each maneuvering to protect or expand their influence. The death of Charles Roman II of Spain, a childless monarch, had ignited the War of the Spanish Succession, a conflict that drew nearly every European power into its orbit. The question at the heart of this war was simple yet monumental: who would inherit the Spanish throne, and how would it shift the balance of power across Europe? France, under the commanding presence of Louis XIV, sought to extend its dominance by placing his grandson, Philip of Anjou, on the Spanish throne. This ambition was perceived as a direct threat by England, the Dutch Republic, and the Habsburg Empire. These nations understood that a French-controlled Spain would make France all but unassailable, potentially reshaping Europe into a French empire. The stakes were nothing less than continental hegemony. By the summer of 1704, the French and Bavarian armies had moved decisively along the Danube, threatening to open a path to Vienna, the heart of the Habsburg Empire. The Allied forces, an uneasy coalition of English, Dutch, and Austrian troops, were tasked with stopping them. Failure would mean a catastrophic shift in power, potentially leaving France dominant for decades to come. It was a perilous moment. The very survival of the Habsburg Empire and the balance of European politics rested on the shoulders of a few key generals. Enter John Churchill, the Duke of Marlborough, a man whose reputation as a master strategist had already begun to precede him. Marlborough was not merely a commander. He was a thinker, a planner, a man who could visualize the battlefield long before his troops set foot on it. He understood that in war, as in life, victory often depended not on brute force alone, but on timing, terrain, deception, and the morale of men. Alongside him was Prince Eugene of Savoy, a brilliant Austrian general renowned for his decisiveness and courage. Eugene, like Marlborough, saw beyond the immediate clash of arms. He anticipated movements, calculated risks, and knew when to strike decisively. The Allied forces, numbering around 52,000 soldiers, faced a French-Bavarian army slightly larger in number, about 56,000 men, but fortified and well-positioned. The battlefield itself was a challenge, a wide plain along the Danube, crisscrossed by rivers, woods, and marshes, which would test the coordination and discipline of both sides. Every step had to be carefully planned. The stakes were immense, and there was little margin for error. As the day of battle approached, tension gripped the armies. Soldiers marched, campfires burned late into the night, and generals pored over maps, discussing contingencies and formulating strategies. Marlborough knew that victory would not come from a frontal assault alone. He relied on misdirection and precise maneuvers, forcing the enemy to commit resources to weak points while he struck where they were most vulnerable. Eugene's role was equally critical. He would lead key flank attacks, using speed and surprise to destabilize the enemy lines. Weather, too, played its part. The summer heat bore down on the troops, but a light mist in the morning would conceal movements, favoring those who could act decisively. The landscape itself, the rolling plains, the wooded patches, the rivers cutting through the land, was as much a weapon as the cannons and muskets each soldier carried. In Marlborough and Eugene, the Allies had commanders capable of turning every challenge into an advantage. Beyond the strategy, there was the human element. Soldiers on both sides were weary from long campaigns, yet their resolve would be tested like never before. Families in Vienna and London waited anxiously for news, understanding that the outcome could change their world. Generals moved with a sense of urgency, knowing that indecision could lead to disaster. Every march, every formation, every choice mattered. And so, as dawn broke on August 13, 1704, the stage was set for a confrontation that would echo through history. The armies lined up across the plain, banners fluttering in the breeze, drums rolling, and cannons ready to thunder. It was a clash of empires, a test of strategy, courage, and endurance. Marlborough and Eugene stood poised, ready to turn planning into action, theory into practice. The battle that would unfold that day, the Battle of Blenheim, would not just decide a war, it would reshape Europe itself. In that tense, charged moment, every movement was critical, every decision held the weight of history. Soldiers, generals, and nations waited for the first volley, unaware that they were about to witness a day that would change history forever. At the heart of the Allied success at Blenheim were two extraordinary leaders, John Churchill, the Duke of Marlborough, and Prince Eugene of Savoy. Each a master of strategy in his own right, together they formed a partnership that would leave an indelible mark on military history. John Churchill was more than a soldier, he was a visionary strategist. Born into modest nobility in England, he had risen through the ranks not only by courage, but by an uncanny ability to see the battlefield as a living, shifting puzzle. Marlborough understood that warfare was not merely about numbers or brute force. It was about timing, positioning, and anticipating your opponent's every move. His meticulous planning, attention to detail, and ability to inspire loyalty among his troops made him a commander to be reckoned with. He could foresee the enemy's intentions and manipulate them, striking where they were weakest and least prepared. Opposite him stood Prince Eugene of Savoy, the Austrian general whose name alone struck fear into the hearts of his enemies. Eugene was renowned for his decisiveness, daring maneuvers, and courage in the thick of battle. He had spent his life mastering the art of war, combining keen intellect with bold action. Eugene excelled in exploiting enemy vulnerabilities, leading flanking maneuvers that turned the tide of countless engagements. His ability to act swiftly and adapt to changing circumstances made him the perfect complement to Marlborough's meticulous approach. What made their partnership truly extraordinary was their perfect balance of strengths. Marlborough brought vision, planning, and strategic patience. Eugene brought decisiveness, boldness, and the ability to seize opportunities in the chaos of battle. Together, they coordinated movements that would outwit and overwhelm their enemies. The synergy between them allowed the Allies to confront a numerically superior French-Bavarian force with confidence, turning a potential disaster into a historic victory. Their genius was not limited to battlefield tactics. Both leaders understood the importance of morale, logistics, and communication. Marlborough ensured that his troops were well supplied, disciplined, and aware of their roles, while Eugene inspired them with courage and a sense of purpose. They knew that wars are not won by isolated acts of bravery alone, but by cohesive, coordinated action across the entire army. At Blenheim, their combined brilliance became evident. Marlborough orchestrated the main thrust of the Allied forces, drawing the enemy's focus to the center, while Eugene executed the crucial flank attacks that would shatter the French-Bavarian lines. Their coordination, timing, and mutual trust transformed strategy into action, turning theory into victory. In essence, Marlborough and Eugene were more than commanders. They were architects of history. Their leadership demonstrated that vision, courage, and collaboration could overcome overwhelming odds. The Battle of Blenheim was not merely a clash of armies. It was a masterclass in leadership, strategy, and the art of war, guided by two of Europe's greatest military minds. The morning of August 13, 1704, dawned with a tense stillness over the plains near Blenheim. Mist hovered low over the fields, concealing movements and shrouding the armies in an eerie silence. On one side, the Allied forces, commanded by Marlborough and Eugene, waited with disciplined anticipation. On the other, the French and Bavarian armies, confident and fortified, prepared for what they believed would be a routine engagement. But what would unfold over the next 12 hours would become legendary, a battle that would change the course of European history. The Allied army numbered roughly 52,000 men, slightly smaller than the 56,000 troops under the French Marshal Tallard and Bavarian Elector Maximilian Roman II. Despite the slight numerical disadvantage, Marlborough's brilliance in strategy and Eugene's decisive command would turn this difference into an advantage. Marlborough had spent days carefully analyzing the terrain, studying river crossings, wooded patches, and marshes. Every cannon placement, every infantry formation, and every cavalry movement had been planned with meticulous precision. As the first volleys of artillery thundered across the plain, the battle erupted. Marlborough had intentionally spread his forces across the center, presenting what appeared to be a weak line. The French, believing they had the advantage, pressed forward aggressively, but this was exactly the trap Marlborough had set. As the enemy advanced into the seemingly vulnerable center, Eugene struck, leading a fierce cavalry and infantry assault on the flanks. He targeted the French wings, slicing through their lines with speed and precision. The Franco-Bavarian army, caught off guard by the coordination of the Allies, began to falter. The fighting was relentless. Muskets roared, cannons shook the ground, and the clash of steel rang through the fields. Marlborough moved along the center, directing his troops with calm authority, shifting reserves where they were needed most, and keeping the momentum against the enemy. Eugene's flanking forces, meanwhile, pressed the advantage, cutting off retreat paths and forcing the French cavalry into confusion. The French commanders struggled to regain control as their formations disintegrated under the dual pressure of Marlborough's planning and Eugene's daring execution. By midday, the battle had reached a critical turning point. The French center, thinking itself in control, was now exposed on both sides. Eugene led a decisive cavalry charge against the Bavarian flank, breaking their lines and sending troops fleeing into disorder. Marlborough pressed the attack from the center, moving his infantry forward to capitalize on the chaos. The coordination between the two generals was seamless, each anticipating the other's actions and exploiting every weakness in the enemy's defenses. The battlefield became a scene of both heroism and horror. Smoke from cannon fire mingled with dust and heat, reducing visibility to mere meters in some places. Soldiers fought with desperation, some rallying under the banners of Marlborough and Eugene, others surrendering or fleeing as their lines collapsed. The roar of command clashed with the screams of the wounded, but through it all, the Allied forces held cohesion, their discipline and training turning the tide against a numerically and strategically superior enemy. In the late afternoon, the French army, battered and disoriented, began a full retreat. Marshal Tallard himself was captured, a devastating blow to French morale and command. The Bavarian forces were routed, fleeing in disarray back toward the Danube, leaving behind cannons, supplies, and a battlefield strewn with the remnants of what had been one of Louis XIV's most formidable armies. Marlborough and Eugene, though victorious, remained vigilant, ensuring their forces held the field and secured the surrender of key enemy units. The Battle of Blenheim was over, but its impact would resonate for decades. The Allies had achieved a victory against overwhelming odds, demonstrating the power of strategic planning, discipline, and the effective coordination of brilliant leaders. The French threat to Vienna had been neutralized, and the European balance of power had been preserved. It was not simply a tactical triumph, it was a turning point in history, one that showcased how leadership, foresight, and courage could shape the destiny of nations. In the aftermath, Marlborough and Eugene toured the battlefield, taking stock of their forces and the cost of victory. Thousands of soldiers lay wounded or dead, the smoke and blood staining the fields of Blenheim. Yet amid the carnage, there was triumph. The Allies had proved that even the most formidable enemy could be defeated through careful planning, audacity, and unity of purpose. Soldiers celebrated, flags were raised, and news of the victory began to spread across Europe, sending shockwaves through both allies and enemies. The day that began with tension and uncertainty had ended in decisive triumph. Marlborough and Eugene had not only won a battle, they had delivered a masterclass in leadership and strategy. They had shown that history is shaped not just by the number of troops on the field, but by the vision, courage, and coordination of those who lead them. The plains of Blenheim became a testament to the transformative power of strategy, a reminder that even in the chaos of war, order, discipline, and brilliant minds can seize victory from the jaws of uncertainty. The significance of the Battle of Blenheim extends far beyond the battlefield. On August 13, 1704, Marlborough and Eugene did more than defeat a French-Bavarian army. They altered the trajectory of European history. This was a moment when the fate of nations, the balance of power, and the very map of Europe were at stake. Before Blenheim, France under Louis XIV seemed nearly unstoppable. French armies had dominated the continent for decades, their victories securing the king's ambition to make France the preeminent European power. The Franco-Bavarian coalition threatened to open a path to Vienna itself, potentially allowing France to dictate the terms of European politics for generations. Had the Allies failed, the Habsburg Empire might have collapsed. Spain could have fallen fully under French control, and the balance of power that had prevented one nation from dominating Europe could have been lost forever. The victory at Blenheim shattered that perception. It proved that even the most formidable army could be defeated through strategy, leadership, and unity. Marlborough and Eugene's coordinated tactics showed that clever planning could overcome numerical strength. By disrupting the enemy's lines, exploiting terrain, and synchronizing their forces, they demonstrated a level of military sophistication that would become a benchmark for commanders in generations to come. The battle also highlighted the importance of alliances. The success of the English, Dutch, and Austrian troops depended not only on brilliant leadership, but on cooperation, trust, and coordination across national boundaries. Beyond military tactics, Blenheim had profound political and psychological effects. The French aura of invincibility was shattered, boosting morale among England, Austria, and the Dutch Republic, while sowing doubt and fear within Louis XIV's court. The victory prevented France from imposing its dominance over Europe, preserving the Habsburg Empire and ensuring a more balanced and competitive continent. In doing so, Blenheim became a turning point in the War of the Spanish Succession, shaping the negotiations, treaties, and alliances that would follow. Moreover, the battle served as a masterclass in leadership. Marlborough and Eugene demonstrated how vision, courage, and foresight could change history. They showed that wars are won not only through numbers or weapons, but through meticulous planning, decisiveness, and the ability to inspire and coordinate troops under pressure. Their example would influence military thinking for centuries, making Blenheim a reference point for strategic brilliance. Finally, Blenheim matters because it reminds us that individual choices can alter the course of history. The courage of soldiers, the decisions of generals, and the resolve of nations converged to create a moment that echoed across Europe. It was not just a victory, it was a statement that leadership, intelligence, and collaboration can prevail against the greatest odds, reshaping the destiny of nations and leaving a legacy that endures to this day. In short, Blenheim was more than a battle. It was a decisive moment that preserved the balance of Europe, demonstrated the art of war at its highest level, and showcased the power of visionary leadership. It is a day that did not merely change a war, it changed history itself. As we look back on August 13, 1704, the Battle of Blenheim emerges not merely as a clash of armies, but as a defining moment in the history of Europe. It reminds us that history is shaped not only by events, but by the vision, courage, and decisions of individuals who dare to act decisively when the stakes are highest. Marlborough and Eugene were more than military leaders. They were architects of destiny, demonstrating that intellect, strategy, and leadership can alter the course of nations. The legacy of Blenheim is multifaceted. Militarily, it became a masterclass in strategy, studied by generals for centuries, a model of how preparation, coordination, and adaptability can overcome numerical superiority. Politically, it preserved the balance of power in Europe, ensuring that no single nation could dominate the continent unchecked. It safeguarded the Habsburg Empire, strengthened alliances, and shifted momentum in the War of the Spanish Succession, changing the trajectory of European politics for decades. But beyond the maps, treaties, and military manuals, Blenheim offers a human lesson. It reminds us that leadership matters. The courage of soldiers, the decisiveness of commanders, and the trust between allies created the conditions for victory. Marlborough and Eugene showed that greatness is rarely achieved alone. It is born of collaboration, insight, and the ability to inspire others to act with purpose and precision. We also learn that history is rarely predetermined. The outcome of Europe's struggle in 1704 could have been very different. Yet on that fateful day, vision met opportunity, discipline met courage, and two leaders turned uncertainty into triumph. Blenheim teaches us that pivotal moments require clarity, strategy, and bold action, and that even in the chaos of conflict, leadership and planning can prevail. Today, as we reflect on that battlefield near the Danube, the smoke and cannon fire long gone, the lessons endure. The Battle of Blenheim stands as a testament to the power of human agency in shaping history, a reminder that decisive action guided by wisdom can alter the fate of nations. It is a day when Europe's destiny hung in the balance, and when courage, strategy, and collaboration won the day. In remembering Blenheim, we honor not only a victory, but the timeless principles it represents: vision, leadership, and the transformative power of decisive action. Marlborough and Eugene's triumph reminds us that history is not simply a record of events. It is the result of those willing to act boldly, to seize the moment, and to change the world. And so, the day that changed history continues to inspire us. Blenheim is more than a battle, it is a lesson for all generations, a story of courage, brilliance, and legacy that echoes across time. The Battle of Blenheim was more than a clash of armies. It was a turning point where courage met strategy, where vision met action, and where two leaders changed the course of history. Marlborough and Eugene did not just win a battle, they altered the destiny of Europe. They proved that even against overwhelming odds, discipline, intelligence, and decisive leadership can triumph. History is shaped by such moments when ordinary soldiers and extraordinary leaders come together to create something that echoes across centuries. Blenheim reminds us that victory is not born of numbers alone, but of foresight, unity, and unwavering resolve. As we remember that fateful day, let it inspire us to lead boldly, think strategically, and act decisively in our own lives. For just as Blenheim changed the fate of nations, courage and vision have the power to change the course of history anywhere, at any time. The plains of Blenheim may be silent now, but the lesson endures. History belongs to those who dare, who plan, and who act with unwavering purpose.